Coming up tonight on YCN News, a Minnesota-based home and farm goods store opens in Claremont, New Hampshire. Senator Rand Paul announces his candidacy for president. And Cornish Elementary School has a new principal. For more news, weather, and sports, it's time for YCN, your local view.
Now, your daily digest of the Dartmouth Lake Sunapee region, southern Vermont, and Windsor County. News, sports, weather, and all that is happening in our area. The news on YCN, your local view.
Good evening. It's Tuesday, April 7th. I'm Laura James. Welcome to YCN News. Well, there's a new retail business in Sullivan County. Claremont, New Hampshire is home to the first running store in New England. Claremont is one of 3 stores, the Minnesota-based home and farm goods stores opening in the Northeast. Runnings of Claremont is at 403 Washington Street, heading near the Newporttown line. It's filling up the aisles of the former Lowe's store. Well, and then there were 2. Republican Senator from Kentucky, Rand Paul, officially declared today his intent to run for president in 2016. On his website, randpaul.com, Paul, whose father, Ron Paul, held political office in Texas, says he's running for president to return the country to the principles of liberty and limited government. Paul is the second candidate and the second Republican to dive right into the race for president. Texas Senator Ted Cruz on March 23rd became the first to announce his run for the nation's top leadership post. Meanwhile, other Republicans continue to stand at the shore and perhaps slowly wading into the race to live at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. These include New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, former Florida Governor Jeb Bush, and George Pataki, formerly New York's governor. Meanwhile, there'll be new leadership at a local elementary school with a 3-1 vote yesterday night. The Cornish School Board chose Jennifer Prilison as the next Cornish Elementary School principal. Prilison will begin her work in Cornish on July 1st. Currently, she's assistant principal at Enfield's Indian River School. Principal Sylvia Surrett is retiring in June. Coming up on YCN News, the spring thaw forces the closure of a Granite State Cemetery to all vehicles. And the softball season is previewed in Windsor, Vermont, as well as the Hartford Restorative Justice Center is the focus of an interview with Elizabeth Durazio. Plus, we'll have local sports and weather when YCN News returns.
The YCN News continues in a moment.
Welcome back to YCN News. I'm Laura James. Well, the weather affects many aspects of our lives, including in Lebanon at the entrance to the Glenwood Cemetery. Now, Glenwood is located off Dulac, Spring, and South Streets, and the cemetery can be accessed by foot, but not by motor vehicles of any kind. A sudden spring thaw and poor ground conditions at the cemetery prompted Lebanon Public Works officials to close the cemetery to all vehicles until further notice. For concerns or questions concerning this closure, you can contact the Public Works office at 603-448-3112. In Vermont news tonight, members of the Bellows Falls Fire Department are keeping their jobs as salaried firefighters, at least for now. A sometimes heated exchange between firefighters and the Village Board of Trustees last night tossed around the $1.8 million cost to run the department. That, according to the Eagle Times, under a budget proposal, all firefighters except the chief would serve as volunteers. In the end, the trustees voted 3 in favor, 2 against, to keep all salaried positions. Coming up next, the Hartford Restorative Justice Center is the focus of our next interview with YCN's Elizabeth Durazio when YCN News returns.
The YCN News continues in a moment.
Welcome back to YCN News. I'm Mike Pizzone. It was another gloomy day out there today with cloudy skies and spurts of rain, and it looks like that trend will continue over the next few days. Skies will remain mostly cloudy tonight with calm winds and a low of around 30 degrees. Things won't warm up much tomorrow with a high of 39, and there's a 30% chance of rain showers after 3 p.m. Those showers will likely continue into the evening hours and may eventually turn into flurries with a low of 29 tomorrow evening. Thursday will bring more of the same with a high of 40 degrees and a 50% chance of rain and snow showers throughout the day. That precipitation will continue into the evening with temperatures bottoming out at about 33 degrees. Checking out the satellites, you can see those incoming storms making their way across the country. They'll swoop in over the next couple of days, making for continued rain and possibly even snow showers, meaning we won't have a break from this wet weather until well into the weekend. Now let's take a look at our community calendar to see what's happening in the region. The Ladies Auxiliary of the Croydon Fire Department will host its weekly bingo night tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. at the Claremont Senior Center off Maple Ave. The event is open to anyone ages 18 or older. The Upper Valley Mac users group will meet Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. at the WinCycle Computers on Main Street in Windsor, Vermont. The event is open to anyone interested in Apple computing products. Visit wincycle.org for more information. An evening of poetry and music featuring the trio Cleonice will be held Friday from 5 to 7 p.m. at the Knowlton House in Sunapee Harbor. The event will include plenty of music as well as inspired poetry by local poets. It's free and it's open to the public. High school teams in Vermont are supposed to open their regular season schedules this week, but time will tell if fields will be in playable shape by the end of the week. Over in Windsor, the school's softball field appears to be in good shape as far as its lack of snow cover goes, but a sloppy outfield forced officials to postpone today's opener against Twin Valley. The Yellow Jackets still have plenty to be hopeful for heading into the new season though, with 10 players returning from a very successful squad last year. Windsor graduated just one senior from the 9-8 team that made it all the way to the Division III quarterfinals, which has senior shortstop Haley Wood optimistic the team will be in store for bigger and better things this year.
I think it's good to have a bunch of older kids to be here pushing the younger kids and everything. We definitely want to grow as a team and hopefully make it to the championship. I think that if we keep coming to practice and working hard, we have a lot of potential this year.
Head coach Phil Hathorn agreed with the shortstop, adding that if his team can play defense as well as it hits, there's no telling how far his Yellow Jackets can go.
I think we get the nucleus, we could go a ways. Our pitcher Ashley Bly is throwing real well right now, and I hope we can just build on that. I got 4 or 5 kids that I think are really going to swing the bats well, so I think we can generate some runs if we can play defense and be smart with the ball. I think definitely better than 500 record, and I'd like to look at maybe 11 or 12 wins, depending on how everything falls and if we can keep everybody on board.
Hathorn said that practicing indoors certainly hasn't been ideal, especially for the team's newcomers, given his emphasis on situational softball rather than just hitting and catching.
It's always tough. I try not to go outside and then have to come back in. That's why we just threw and ran outside so we could get used to the elements. And like today, some of the drills you watch us do, you can tell them where the base runners are, but until they actually see them, it's a totally different story. And I'm a coach that coaches situations, drill situations with base runners and stuff. So that's going to be a little tough, especially with our new kids. And I got a new second baseman, and it's going to be tough for her until she starts seeing things, how she's going to react.
Wood agreed with her coach and said it would be interesting to see how things transition once they head outside.
It's always hard starting inside. We've been in here for like 3 weeks now. We'll see what our first game is like.
The team is slated to host Hartford on Friday, but that game could be moved up to Thursday if weather permits. Looking at the YCN scoreboard, you can see there was some high school action yesterday as a pair of girls' tennis teams took to the courts. Desnaise Roy and Cammie Collison won their singles matches for Stevens, while doubles partners Andrea Cutts and Annie Carr tallied the lone point for Kearsarge. That does it for YCN Sports. I'm Mike Pizzone.
Thanks, Mike. We'll have part 2 of our conversation with New Hampshire State Representative Virginia Irwin of Newport. YCN's Capital Connections' John O'Connor has that interview when YCN News continues.
The YCN News continues in a moment.